trends that we've seen in the last 12 months from recruitment adverts. We also have CV Library with us today. So we've got Amy and Sarah who will be going through some of the trends that they've got from the UK data set they have available to them. First of all, I thought I could just give you a bit of an overview of 2025. In the bottom right-hand corner, you do have a chat window, so feel free to ask questions as we go along. If you've got any questions about how this applies to a particular situation or to your particular organisation, school or business, just add a comment in the chat window, and I'll answer them as we get to each stage, but we will also give you some time at the end to go through it. So in terms of the things that we've seen that's probably had the biggest impact on your ability to recruit, we have seen some changes in the number of advert views that you get on average and the number of apply clicks. So job advert views have actually increased year on year by roughly 6%, whereas apply clicks have actually decreased on average by 15% for the jobs that we get through. A lot of this is coming from the fact that candidate behaviour has changed because of the economic situation in the UK. So we know for a start that candidates are a little bit bombarded at the moment with advertising and marketing. So the number of times that somebody needs to see something being advertised to them has increased before they actually take action. So that explains why there's more views and there's less apply clicks. And there's also a big increase in the percentage of the candidates that actually apply that started off passive. So roughly 70% of applicants at the moment are originally not looking for a job. They've come across a job from different sources. It's been pushed to them on social media or through emails or through platforms that they use, and they're applied because of that. So I'll hand over to CV Library just to talk through some of the trends that they're seeing in terms of the data across the country.
Thanks, James. Hi, everyone. I'm Amy from CV Library. I just wanted to go through a couple of trends that we're seeing at CV Library, but this is also industry-wide as well. So these statistics are from ONS. So just looking at the first figure to begin with. So I'm sure, as we all know, recruitment sort of on the surface seems to be declining quite rapidly. However, kind of taking a look at the graph on figure 1, it's demonstrating that we are just getting back to pre-pandemic levels. And we are expecting that sort of natural decline post-COVID with such a huge spike to gradually sort of flatten out. So it kind of seems scary at the minute, and we completely understand that, you know, people are panicking a little bit. But if you look sort of, you know, we're starting to see a little peak right at the end, and you know, from 2026 onwards, we are kind of looking for a natural growth in the market. So figure 2 highlights that quarterly growth in job vacancies decreased in half of the UK sectors between July and September. But interestingly, education and other sectors have continued to see annual growth of around 20%. The majority of this can be put down to sort of seasonality, and we are forecasting levels to be going back up to sort of natural levels by quarter 1 2026. Does anyone have any questions around that at all? No? James, did you have anything to add on that slide at all?
No, I don't think so. I mean, in terms of what we're seeing, I think this graph is the most interesting one because it shows in real terms how it's actually impacting people's individual job adverts, because there does seem to be a correlation between the number of job adverts and the competition out there and the views and the apply click. So it'd be useful to talk through this particular graph.
Sure. So starting with the positives, we're still getting good levels of applications across the site. So average applications have grown from about 12 to 13 at the start of the year, sort of latter end of last year, to about 15.26 in the past sort of 6 months, showing there's still lots of candidates out there across all sectors, which is obviously really positive. Our data demonstrates the highs and lows of the year as well. So understandably, August to September is quite low due to seasonality. Summer holidays, a lot of people take time off leave, people have got childcare. And then January and February providing the highest applications. So really, when you're thinking about posting roles and what time of year, probably the best time of year is to post in January and February to get that good level of application.
Brilliant. Thank you for going through that. I think it's quite interesting as well that within a matter of weeks, some of the views and the apply clicks that you're getting can really rocket up and they can really rocket down. So potentially, sometimes you can just be picking a bad period of time to be advertising for your role, and potentially that second time around you're successful because you've picked a better time or things have shifted so rapidly in the last year. And I don't think that we've traditionally seen that. It's been a little bit more steady. So for those of you that feel like it's been a bit of a strange year, I think this kind of backs that up.
I think Sarah's going to take over this slide, if that's okay, Sarah.
Absolutely, I'm indeed. Lovely to meet you all. My name's Sarah from CV Library as well. So here we have some of our demographics that we've managed to pull and some insights from our candidates. This is actually from a barometer that we've actually published. And it's how often that obviously candidates are looking through job posts. And as you can see, over 63% of candidates are looking several times a day to obviously search for jobs. This is particularly important then to get your job advert looking correct, so it's in front of them, it's in the right sort of part of the search listings, and also gives them the information that they need as quickly as possible. We have further stats to say that 69% of candidates spend only up to 20 seconds scanning each advert, and then they'll move on to the next one. And obviously, if they're doing that several times a day, we need to make your adverts most appealing to them. We have suggestions and optimization points that we can, imply to your adverts to make sure that they are obviously seeing the best return that we can possibly offer. Some of those will be obviously the location, using postcodes where possible for extra exposure. We have stats at 31% of you get 31% more applications if you advertise a postcode, a town and a location. It just helps those candidates pinpoint exactly where that job is posted, rather than a region, rather than it's in Farnborough somewhere. It's that actual location. You can work out their journey to work, which actually to people is a lot more important than we realise. Obviously, showing a salary where is possible, again, is something that definitely helps get a little bit more attention. We get over 20% more applications to that. And keeping job titles nice and short and to the point of what you're looking for will all help, obviously, candidates look through those job postings several times a day. So, yeah. Has anyone got any questions on that at all, on job optimization?
Perfect. Thank you, Sarah, for going through that. So in terms of the strategies that we're seeing, I think it's very good that it aligns nicely with the approaches that you're taking. So these are the top three things that we've really seen benefiting people in the last 12 months. So first of all, there's been a healthy shift from those that are having success in moving away from attachments to job adverts, so maybe candidate packs or job descriptions or whatever it might be, to focusing on job adverts being a real sales pitch to people. That is very heavily linked, I think, to the fact that those candidates are only spending 20 seconds on a job advert. They need something which is punchy. They need something which is going to grab their attention. So focusing more on the job advert and moving away from perhaps some of those additional steps that people are going to take if they are interested does pay real dividends. Bullet points have always been something that I've liked. I think anything you can do to make it easier for candidates to rule themselves in or out of the process is a real benefit. It will definitely help your diversity and inclusion approach. In general, people from a wide range of backgrounds find it easier to decide whether they're suitable for a position if they're reviewing bullet points rather than large blocks of text. So that gives you an added benefit that a wide range of people can rule themselves in for a job. And the biggest change I think that you could be making in terms of your strategy to take advantage of some of these trends would be to consider some of the pain points that people have when they are passive candidates, so they're not actively looking for a job, and counter them with your benefits. So if you just have a long list of benefits like a great pension scheme, free tea, coffee, whatever it might be, then perhaps revisiting those and thinking about what would make somebody leave their job if they were to see my job advert. So Helen, you've asked what kind of examples could that be. We know that relationships are one of the biggest reasons for those candidates to move jobs. So anything you can focus on that. So for example, if your culture allows your employees to talk to senior leadership without going through a very bureaucratic process, that is a benefit. If they are putting ideas forward to people about improvements and those ideas aren't getting listened to, but you can offer that. If there is a process or a culture within your organization that allows people to put forward ideas, have those ideas listened to, and have some of those relevant ones implemented, then that is a genuine benefit to people. Those are the types of things that people get home and feel like they're undervalued. Potentially they feel like they're doing a bigger share of the work than other people. So they're the things that when a job does pop up, they're the kind of things that would actually convert them into applying for a role. Hopefully that helps kind of answer that question. So in terms of benefits in general, I think need to be revisited. It does need to include some of those cultural elements in terms of what can you offer in terms of a good culture. But CV Library have got some insights in terms of what are people actually motivated by. So I'll pass back to CV Library to go through these.
Thanks, James, and apologies, my camera is having an absolute mare today, so to save everyone really scary freeze frames, I've turned it off because it was making me look like a mugshot, so apologies. But yeah, really good point moving on from James's. Just looking at, this is basically from our barometer that we ran in January 2025, and it really demonstrates the importance of advertising your benefits, especially when you're not able to post salaries. You know, our data at the minute shows that we see an uplift of around 20% more applications when listing a salary, but we do understand for various reasons it's not always possible, which is why it's so important to advertise these. You know, training, flexible working, pensions and holiday allowances are currently the top factors as to why candidates apply for jobs. So it's really good to have a think about what your company offers and factor that into your job descriptions and company profiles and career sites. Also to have a think about how, you know, you can use already the people you have working for you and using that maybe for video content. We see quite a lot of clients using this as a good way to advertise their own career, company culture by kind of interviewing already employees and understanding about the culture. You can see on the right hand side that 31% of candidates would quit a job without another one lined up, and I think this is down to salary is a big thing, but the culture and burnout is such a big thing now for candidates, especially with Gen Z. They're looking for other benefits of workplace rather than just salary now. So I think it's really important to have a look at that and see how you can factor that into your job ads.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for going through that. In terms of what you can actually do with this knowledge in terms of next steps, I think the first thing to do would be to review the data that you have on your job adverts. So if you're currently working with us, then feel free to kind of request that data. That will give you an idea of what's working, what's not working, but it'll allow you to make better informed decisions for the coming year. Also review some of this external data. I think it's very important to be considering how you're performing against other organizations that are similar to yours. If you don't know that, then you're going to struggle to know, is it the quality of the job advert? Is it the employer brand? Is it the application process? Is it the platforms that we're choosing? So benchmarking is a really important element that a lot of people don't do. We don't know how stable these figures are going to be in terms of 2026. So I think in terms of what you could be doing to prepare, you could be having a think about how could you be focusing on this flexible approach. Typically, we would say that maybe 80% of jobs you can predict what's going to happen in terms of whether you'll be able to fill it first time or not. And then that 20% are really experimental in terms of maybe they're new positions for you, maybe the market's changed significantly, maybe there's a lot of turbulence in it. So I think just considering how are you going to have that level of flexibility, how are you going to focus on the right roles? And data definitely is the answer to that in terms of looking back, seeing what worked, what didn't work, and then making a better plan for it. So we're able to share these slides, so do feel free to email me if you'd like a copy of them after this. But this is meant for you to be able to use as a guide, so you can come back to it and you can see, okay, for this particular job, we're getting lots of views, but we're not converting very many people, or we're getting hardly any views at all, but we're converting a high percentage of those people. As you can see, the biggest, the most common issue that you're going to have is going to be job title for high views and low apply clicks. So the incorrect job title often means that people are coming across that job advert, but you can't convert them, because when they read that advert, when they spend that 20 seconds reading it, it's not suitable for them. In terms of low views, there can be a number of reasons here that are potentially out of your control. So it might be a reputational problem. So you might have a weak employer brand, so people are suitable for the job, but very few of them are actually clicking to view the job because they wouldn't want to work for you as an organization. It could just be that there's too much competition there. It could be that you've got a very high salary for the role, so lots of people are being converted, but it might be quite a niche job. Or it could be that you haven't optimized your job to rank high enough in the search results, or you need, because of that competition, to be buying a higher level of credit. In terms of how you can very quickly apply these things to your job adverts, there's three tips that we see would be the best things to be investing your time in. So have very clean job titles, remove terms like part-time, maternity cover, contract, whatever it might be from the title, put those in the body of the advert. Use LinkedIn and people such as ourselves to help you with those job titles. So use LinkedIn to see how big is the talent pool if we pick this job title, how big is the talent pool if we pick this job title, and also consider what does your sector use. So if you're in the education sector, for example, do you want to be recruiting somebody from that sector? If so, look at what other organizations call that job role, or do you want to be recruiting outside the sector? In which case, make sure you consider what do other sectors call that job role. In terms of the reader, as with SEO is basically the optimization of content, so it ranks higher. Considering the reader is going to be important, because that's what the algorithms are trying to consider when they're ranking content. So we find that focusing on the role first, then the team, then the department, then the business unit, then the overarching organization works really well. People want to rule themselves in and out of a job before they find out who they're going to be working with, and they want to know that those two elements are really lined up before they look at potentially, if you're like a school, for example, whether you're part of a school trust. So I'd always say start off small, then get bigger and bigger in terms of the information that you're sharing. Adverts of about 500 words work particularly well in terms of ranking. And because so many people use AI and they don't do a good job of it, we would recommend writing your adverts from scratch. I think a year or two ago, my advice would have still been writing it from scratch, because a lot of people were just reusing content that they had maybe in a folder or from the last time they ran a job advert. So starting again can have quite a significant impact on your ability to improve your views and your apply clicks for a job role. Does anybody have any questions about these three tips? Perfect. So a question that we've received a number of times before is when should you be posting your job? How long should it be live for? And when do people typically apply for a job? So I'll hand back over to CV Library to talk through some of the data they have on that.
Thank you, James. Yes, it's very interesting. This is the data, obviously, we've pulled from our dashboards of the most popular days and times for applications. And I know we all get that little influx on a Friday of let's get our jobs live. before the weekend. But actually looking at the data, it just proves that there's very, you know, there's a drop in applications actually over the weekend, and it's more geared towards the beginning of the week. It might be the fact that, you know, you've come into work on the Monday and then you've actually realised that actually I do want to be looking for a new job. So that's what sparks those days of applications being popular at the beginning of the week. By all means, if you do receive your job postings on a Friday and you can wait to a Monday, we would always sort of suggest that, and then they're live for the beginning of the week, where we see those most popular days for applications. We have on CV Library job alerts that go out at the beginning of the week that actually coincide with those as well. So it really helps. And due to the times of applications, as you can see, there is a bit of a peak in the middle there around lunchtime, when people obviously are on their lunch break. So again, obviously everything we've said about company cultures being advertised and keeping the jobs nice and short and sweet. So they've got that time on their lunch break. They are looking for jobs and they are applying. So it's really important to make it as user-friendly as possible. Get those candidates, you know, interested in your role with those benefits as previously discussed, and they will do a direct thought process of, this is what I've got currently whilst I'm sitting at my desk eating my lunch, and what I could be getting somewhere else. So it's obviously really important, and it's really interesting to see that it drops right down to the evening. So people get home and they start their evening. So during the day is obviously most popular for application times too. We've then got the next slide here about how long applications should take. We do know that, as you can see, the majority of candidates only want to be spending up to 15 minutes applying for a job. That's per job. If a candidate journey is too long for them, what we see is that we see a big drop off after they've viewed and they've clicked apply. That will drop off. It might be the fact that they think, I haven't got time to go through all of these steps now. I'll come back to it later. Maybe they don't come back to it, or, you know, it's something that, you know, they've got that time to do. So anything that you can do to make the candidate journey a lot more effective and efficient is really beneficial. They can use an email address where possible. I know sometimes people do have the want to fill out a whole application form. Maybe that's something that could be sent over after, if you can get that initial application with their, you know, their profile and their CV to you first, and then that could be filled in afterwards. But it's really interesting to see, obviously, keeping the application journey for the candidates, you know, as simple as possible for them is obviously going to create obviously a lot more attention.
Brilliant, thank you.
Oh, that's okay.
No, sorry, can I just quickly jump in here as well, just about like even being able to reduce the time of the application process even more, is just to have a think about ATSs. So if you have got an ATS already, maybe to speak to your media, James, about how you can get directly integrated as well, because if you're not having that drop off of candidates going through onto your site, you'll be able to keep them on the job board. So that is another sort of a reduction in that drop off there. So that application length will significantly drop too. So it's definitely something to have a think about if you do have an ATS already.
Perfect, thank you both. That's very helpful. So in terms of the tips that we've been talking through, we've put at the end of this presentation some kind of solutions to the problems that you might have, some solutions in terms of this diagram that we discussed earlier. What do you actually do when you're unsure about why you've got high views and low apply clicks? So if anybody does want this presentation afterwards, feel free to email me and I'll send it across. So I'll have the data there for you, but it'll also give you a bit of a guide in terms of what can you do. In terms of the wrong job title, the job title being too long, whatever it might be with the job title, do also feel free to contact us if you need some recommendations. And we can also go through with you how you can be using CV Library or LinkedIn to see what other people are using for those titles within your sector, and we can provide you some insights as well. Most of you will probably find it quite difficult to benchmark yourself against similar size organizations or businesses or schools. So feel free to contact us if you want to know your views and apply clicks and how they compare to other people. Feel free to contact us and we'll benchmark those for you, so you know, is it a problem with the sector as a whole? Is it a problem in the UK? Is it a problem with that particular job or potentially your employer brand? And we can talk that through with you. A lot of people at the moment talking through benefits. I think the top tip I can give there is just consider what are those pain points first of all before you write those benefits. And if you're not sure, go and talk to some of the people within your organization and find out what it is that they struggle with, what would it take for them to leave their current role. That is the end of the kind of the data and the insights and the recommendations we have. Does anybody have any questions for us at all that we could help with? Brilliant. I'm glad it was helpful. We will be sharing a recording afterwards. If you require any data following on from that recording, please let me know. And if you've got any questions about how it applies to you, feel free to book in a meeting. I'd be happy to go through it with you. But thank you very much for Sarah and Amy for joining from CV Library. We will send out the email later this afternoon and look forward to speaking to you soon.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.